Butte law enforcement is looking for ways in dealing with a major overcrowding issue at its detention center.
Avalanches are extremely dangerous, even for those who are out here grooming the trails, getting ready for them. I'm Cody Boyer, talking with one man who survived being in the middle of one.
That's some pretty crazy photos right there.
Yep.
We'll have that story with Cody in just a moment. Meantime, it's just ahead of 6:30. It is Wednesday. If you don't know where your dumpster
Magnificent
is,
Monday, Super Tuesday, Windy Wednesday.
Windy Wednesday. There you go. That's
We're gonna, I don't know what I'm going to do for Thursday.
Labels
We'll
are
figure
everything.
something
Yeah,
out. If you're looking for your trash can, it'll be down the street. 50-mile-an-hour winds, very possible as you go through the day today. So that's one thing you're going to have to remember as you're starting out your day. Temperatures are going to be into the 40s through the afternoon. Right now, very comfortable. We're in the 40s now. We do have a little bit of cloud cover, even a couple of showers showing up even into the early part of the day. That morning's the best potential, seeing the heavier shower activity, but even at that, I think they're widely scattered and fairly light. Not a big issue for driving. Man, it's beautiful looking outside, but the wind is going to pick up for the afternoon. That'll be our biggest deterrent for the day. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about what was going on 1 year ago today, you might remember. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Matt. Montana U.S. Senator Steve Daines is getting presidential backing to fully fund the LWCF conservation program.
Senator Daines, who had lobbied for the program for years, first got it reauthorized, but only partially funded. Now, President Donald Trump says in a tweet that he will support full and permanent funding for the measure and is calling on Congress to send him a bill to sign. Now, this is a big turnaround for the president, whose most recent budget called for slashing funding for LWCF by up to 97%. Daines says the president is also supporting a measure to help national parks.
It will give full mandatory funding for the Land and Water Conservation Fund and Restore Parks Act, which deals with the maintenance backlog across our national parks. A big win for conservation, a big win for Montana.
By the way, the LWCF, the Land Water Conservation Fund, uses oil and gas revenue to fund projects like fishing access sites in Montana. Senator Daines had been criticized by some environmental and political groups for not delivering full funding for the program. He's promising to get the measure introduced within a week, and aide says Daines will speak more about that bill coming up later today.
Time now 6:31. Officials in Yellowstone National Park are working to reduce the park's bison population this week.
Officials say they will end up removing between 600 and 900 animals. Some bison will be sent to Native American tribes who will process them for meat. Others will be transferred to live in other areas of the state if they are found to be brucellosis free. Hunters will also be allowed to kill some of those animals. Yellowstone's bison population currently estimated at around 4,900 animals.
And sticking in the park, 25 years ago this month, wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone National Park.
MTS John Shearer reports park officials remembered the event in front of the famous Yellowstone Arch.
On a sunny day here at the north entrance to the park, just a few cars motored by as Smith took his questions and gave answers. But it's a fair bet that at least some of those people were here to try to see a wolf.
It's that window into nature that we don't get anywhere else because it's rare. Where else can you come in the world and get the toothy large carnivores that we have in the West that really, when you look at the rest of the United States, they're only in a handful of other places.
25 years ago, Smith was standing just about here with the historic Roosevelt Arch off in the distance as the first repatriated wolves were trucked into Yellowstone. He didn't know it at the time, but at least one of those wolves was about to leave him with much more than just a fascinating career.
And one time I was outside the pen doing something, I was by myself, she stopped, she came up to the edge of the pen, and our eyes met. And I gotta tell you, if you ever meet the eyes with a wolf, look for a few seconds right into a wolf's eyes, it will change you as a person forever. You won't be the same. 9 did that to me.
Miles to the east of here, out in the broad expanses of the Lamar Valley, there are probably people watching wolves right now. Smith says that could be the animal's greatest legacy. Near Mammoth, in Yellowstone National Park, I'm John Shearer for MTN News.
6:33 now. The final plan for the cleanup of Butte's Superfund site will be presented today to the Butte Council of Commissioners for approval.
Butte Superfund Coordinator John Sesso will pitch the recently released consent decree, which is the major cleanup plan for mining contamination in Butte. That consent decree must be approved by the commissioners before the cleanup and go forward, or the EPA will order its own cleanup plan for Butte. It's not certain if the commissioners will vote to approve that plan.
More on that story. Also in Butte, the community's jail, built about 15 years ago, but the facility has been trying to deal with overcrowding issues in recent years.
MTN's John Amy checks the numbers, the dangers, and the cost.
The Butte Detention Center can't seem to escape from its overcrowding problem.
It's costly and it's dangerous to our staff, and and it could be hazardous to the inmates also.
The jail that was built for a maximum of 72 inmates has had more than 100 for the past 2 years. Many inmates have been in jail for more than 400 days, waiting for a bed to open up in the Montana State Prison. So inmates just stack up at the county level.
Approximately $80 a day to house an inmate. And when you're running 110 inmates, when you're supposed to be running 75 to 80, it's expensive.
To try to take some of the pressure off the jail, Butte's judicial system established special DUI, drug, and veterans courts that focus on treatment over incarceration.
And that's helping to a point. I don't know where we'd be if we didn't have those programs in.
Another factor complicating this overcrowded issue at the jail is that there's far more female inmates incarcerated in this jail now than ever before.
We're running around about 33 females, which was quite a few. Usually it's not that big of a percentage of our population. So that causes us issues also on how to place the females.
In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
6:35 now, and other headlines. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks wardens are running an investigation after several swans were found dead on the surface of a frozen pond in Gallatin County.
Some of those birds even had bullet wounds. Wardens say this photo was taken at Central Park Pond near Manhattan about 2 weeks ago after someone found the trumpeter swans dead. Trumpeter swans are both state and federally protected. Right now, they say it's too early in the investigation to tell what killed all of them, but they do confirm several birds showed clear signs of being shot. Last week, the Montana Raptor Conservation Center confirmed that some of them also had high levels of lead.
It's something that's really deeply concerning. It's a waste of public wildlife and a public resource. We take pride in the wildlife that we have here in Montana. Hunters and non-hunters alike appreciate the wildlife that we have, and so it's a shame when we see wildlife wasted.
FWP urges anyone that either knows anything about the case or sees any other evidence of poaching to contact them through their poaching hotline.
1-800-TIP-MONT.
Okay.
There's the
Good
phone
reminder
number for that. Here's a fact for you. Avalanches are dangerous, period, even for the most highly experienced backcountry enthusiasts.
MTN's Cody Boyer talks with a Belgrade man who survived the unthinkable.
Even to experienced trail groomers like Daniel Christensen here at the Gallatin Valley Snowmobile Association, avalanches are dangerous. He knows because he survived being in the center of one.
It's like watching a movie, but then you're like, I was in it. That just happened.
Daniel Christensen has groomed the trails in Gallatin County for 12 years. He was doing just that on the night of Thursday, February 27th, grooming for the East-West ride.
I don't know if I saw something or I heard something or what, but I had a sense that the mountain was sliding.
And it was.
It started to spin the cat. It kind of came in from the back. So it started to spin me, and then I felt it taking me over the edge. Then I was like, I'm in trouble.
Tons upon tons of snow bore down on Daniel's groomer.
It rolled me at least once. I could feel glass breaking on my arms. Snow was coming in on me. That was a pretty scary moment right there because, I told my wife the night before that I would be home about 2 in the morning.
It was about 8 p.m., meaning it could take hours to just realize he was missing.
The first thing I thought about was my wife and son because, when I started going over, I don't know if I'm ever gonna see him again. I went into survival mode.
Amazingly, Daniel suffered only cuts, but he had to act quickly. Another stroke of luck, he had cell service.
I had a saw and I had fire starter and I had some food, some candy bars.
His family and search and rescue crews got there within hours. It was only then Daniel started to realize how close he truly had been to a bad ending.
When I got home that night, I was like, I am so unbelievably lucky to be alive.
And Daniel says he held his family a little bit closer than usual.
Luck kept me alive, but training, winter survival training, kept me alive after the accident.
In Bozeman, Cody Boyer.
Educate yourself as much as possible.
MTN News.
Educate yourself as much as possible.
That is an incredible story.
Life lessons from Daniel Christensen right there.
And thank God he had service, because I can't imagine you're stuck in there, no cell phone service.
That story could have been far worse.
Oh, far
We're glad
worse.
you're okay, Daniel.
Yes, we're so glad that
Absolutely
ended well.
True. Absolutely true.
All right, we're taking a quick break. When we come back, White House officials say it's time to have a talk about coronavirus. We'll tell you how Congress is preparing for its spread. That's coming up next, and here's what's ahead on CBS This Morning.
Good morning to you. Ahead on CBS This Morning, Joe Biden is back. Big wins in Texas, Massachusetts, and Minnesota help give the former vice president new life in the Democratic presidential race. We'll have complete Super Tuesday analysis in reaction to what appears to be coming a two-man contest with Bernie Sanders. Plus, we're going to take you to Tennessee as residents there struggle to recover from yesterday's deadly tornadoes. We'll talk to families in shock after the destruction, and it's a lot. And Deborah Norville, she's in Studio 57 today. She's at the table celebrating her 25 years hosting Inside Edition. Somebody get that woman a cake. We'll see you at 7 o'clock on the dot.